25 more cars have entered the joust, and this time one of the teams hasn't competed for 5 years. Will it be an impressive return? We shall see. Hi everybody, welcome to the Junkyard Joust. I am Aaron Yonda. Here are the 5 teams competing. Ketchup and Mustard is the team in question. Many of these teams have not competed for a while. Let's take a closer look. For the Aqua Turks, it's all about consistency. They have been inconsistent and they have yet to make it to the finals. Ketchup and Mustard, they competed in Season 1. There were no qualifiers then. Let's see if they can get out of the qualifiers. Legionary got second in the finals of Season 2. They made it back in Season 3, but they rely heavily on one car, Hammered Coupe. They See Me Rollin' got third in Season 3, but they've been struggling ever since then. Violet Velocity appeared in Season 1 and 5, but did not perform well. Can they turn it around? It is the season of colors, and appropriately enough, Bob Ross joins me up in the announcer's booth. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Well, Aaron, I've got an 18 by 24 inch canvas, and I've gone ahead and I've covered it in a thin coat of liquid white, and we're going to get started here in a minute. All the colors you'll need to paint along with me are right there on the screen.
Bob is riding in Rat Rig, and that might have something to do with this.
The reason I love Rat Rig so much is because it's phthalo blue, and I just really love that color a lot.
Featured in the car show today, a few vehicles that didn't quite make the cut and get on the teams that are competing today. See if you can guess which ones were going to go on which teams. Round 1, let's joust. 56 Chevy 210 sedan for the Aqua Turks, sponsored by Coffee Run. This is their starter car. We'll see if it works out as a starter for them. Next up, Evil Twin for They See Me Rollin', sponsored by Sand Dragon Workshop. Evil Twin with a mighty lunge and damage already. A lot of paint flakes flying.
Looks like we might have lost a little paint off of that one. That's okay.
But the Aqua Turks Chevy sedan proves resilient and does survive that hit with flying colors. First up for Ketchup and Mustard, the Dodge Rampage, sponsored by Hendrika's Heavy Hauling. Dodge Rampage actually manages to get underneath Evil Twin. Thought that might be a ramp, but the Rampage handles it and Evil Twin is in trouble. I Believe for Legionary, sponsored by Chorgoth the Infinite Horror. A different version of I Believe was on Pink Push a long time ago, this one with a nice heavy smash. Evil Twin survives it though, thrown into the crates, and comes back around for a survive. No eliminations yet. Here comes a big one, the 74 Cadillac Eldorado, sponsored by Mookow Horse Farm for Violet Velocity. The Cadillac smashes, I Believe, underneath the Rampage, and it flips out and makes a great rollover to a recovery. First 5 down, still nobody's out.
Baby Cookie just gliding right down the track there and lands right where she ought to be. Get yourself a little dab of baby pink on your brush, because we're going to put Baby Cookie in right here.
The Morgan Super 3 with Baby Cookie taking a ride, sponsored by Sicken. The Morgan slams into the line, does not do any damage. I Believe stays locked in. Cookie tumbled out way back down the track. A hard landing, in fact, several hard landings.
Remember, friends, no hard landings, just happy little impacts today.
Happy little impacts. I like the sound of that. Cookie does enjoy this. Makes sense. Thanks, Bob.
Sometimes you just gotta let them land wherever they land.
Next up, Road Rocket, sponsored by Judy Collins. Road Rocket with a nice undercut there. Morgan Super 3 hurled into the sky, but look at this. It twists and turns to a recovery, and that looks to be a decent member for Aqua Turks with that. Spider Machine, formerly on the Thunder Lord, sponsored by Langs the Cat Lover. Spider Machine with another devastating undercut, and we finally have our first elimination. Road Rocket turned over sideways, though will it stay like that? Some happy little impacts from Petey.
What a happy little rascal.
Legionary's Ringer Hammered Coupe, sponsored by Tim the Bear Neal. Hammered Coupe hoping to have some help in this match from his teammates. A solid takedown of the Cadillac, and Road Rocket also finished off on that hit. And coming down next to 86 Ford Thunderbird Pro Stock for Violet, sponsored by the Mad Brit King. Pro Stock with a devastating hit, and Hammered Coupe already turned sideways on the track, but looks like it might be able to get out of there. Pro Stock also sideways. Next hit will determine their fate, and it's going to be Rat Rig, 124 grams, sponsored by William Aronson of the Joust Network.
Now then, let's go ahead and let Gravity do its thing.
A surprisingly gentle approach by Rat Rake setting up that ramp, and it helped both of those cars make a complete recovery. Sideways would have been out, right side up, though they are good. I guess the ramp is set up if nothing else.
Let's take off and have some fun. Wherever they land, that's exactly where they should be.
And you know who's going to take it? Rev Rod, sponsored by PriceX Private Parts. Rev Rod loves the ramp, launches, hits the wall, and goes upside down and out. This is unbelievable, uncharacteristic behavior from Rev Rod, although it actually has been a little too characteristic of late. Bad news for They See Me Rolling. Draftnator, sponsored by the Test Joust series up now. Draftnator handling that ramp the way it is meant to be handled. Look at that beautiful flip over, finds a parking spot, and survives the round. Next up down the ramp is going to be Saber, sponsored by the Aardvark of Freedom. Saber slides up that ramp and starts to tilt it. May have affected the effectiveness of the ramp as it just balances there.
Cars going every which way, just let them be.
Next up for Velocity, 57 Chevy Sedan Delivery, sponsored by Scrapyard Joust Body Parts and Service. The Chevy Delivery launches and makes a fantastic recovery. The jump is back in position. Look at that wonderful roll over all the cars to find a nice flat area and survive. Could be a good one for Violet. 90 Ford Mustang, sponsored by Farty Marty. Mustang takes that leap, and that's going to be a loss for Aqua. Some friendly fire right there. Saber somehow still balanced on the back of that thing, but that Mustang is done.
Wherever they land, that's exactly where they should be.
Next up, Ratified, sponsored by Emo Dingo. Ratified hits that ramp, makes a nice recovery, smashes into the crates, and that helps it get in just the right position. Always nice when there's some empty ground for a recovery. We've seen the Shelby Cobra before, but now with these nice big Goodyear tires, sponsored by Jesus. The tires do not help the Shelby, who cannot find a place to land. Almost flirts with going in the safety area, but can't make it stick and gets stuck. Out. Here's an unusual vehicle, Cy Furious, sponsored by Stump's Tree Farm. Cy Furious ramps successfully and doesn't need to have any ground to land on, just perches on top of some cars. That looks relatively safe. 66 Chevy Impala from the Fast and Furious line, sponsored by Tribble's Troublemakers. The Impala launches into the crates, bounces back with a lot of force, and skids along its roof. Does not find a way to get back over again, and that'll be a loss for Violet Velocity. 73 Volvo 142 GL, sponsored by Shadow Wolf. A beautiful arcing landing by the Volvo, stays steady, lands just about in the safety area on top of the safety rail. Smacks, I believe, around a little bit, but does not take it out. Formerly from Indigo Ice Pick, Skull Crusher, now on They See Me Rollin', sponsored by Star Quartz Industries. Of course, we'll see the Indigo Ice Picks later this season. Skull Crusher does a great job, though, of finding a parking spot here and staying alive. Next up for K&M, it's Greased Gremlin, sponsored by Reaper EOD. We've seen Greased Gremlin before on this team way back when. It looked a little different, though, didn't have these tires on it. And in this case, it looks like those tires may have provided just enough grip to get it all the way up safe into the safety area next to the Volvo. Next up, the Suzuki GSX R4, sponsored by Sauce Automotive Sachet Buffet. A nice launch by the Suzuki, and it finds a place to land. Not many places left, but it gets far enough with all that speed to find a spot. And now Saber is back to balancing precariously. Shoebox for Velocity, final car of the round. Saber got a little bit too close to the sun and got burned. Thrown over on top of the Suzuki over by the crates. Nice takedown there by Shoebox. And we will end round one with Legionary losing another vehicle. We're going to lose 7 vehicles in round one. That is significantly more than the 2 we lost in the previous qualifier in round one. There are all your eliminations. Let's take a look at the aftermath. Aqua, Ketchup, and Legionary all lost 1. They are down to 4, looking pretty good. They See Me Rollin' and Violet Velocity each lost 2, down to 3. Pretty even across the board. No one with a definitive lead as we head into round 2 with the Suzuki for Legionary. The Suzuki with a perfect slot in, removing Evil Weevil and placing itself up at the front. The Dodge Rampage tries the takedown. It's not happening. The Suzuki manages to stay locked in. The AquaTurks Chevy sedan gets the takedown on the Rampage, uses the back of the Suzuki as a little push point, and that thing is gone. That'll take Ketchup and Mustard down to 3. Evil Twin pushes into position. The Suzuki holds on yet again. The Suzuki can hold on no longer. The Ford Thunderbird forces it over, and it is definitely not in a great position right there. Ford Thunderbird going up in the back of Evil Twin now, too. I believe with a hit and run on the Ford Thunderbird, it does not work. Suzuki gets pounded into the safety area upside down, but look at that recovery by the Thunderbird on top of Evil Weevil. It finds a way. I believe escapes. Spider Machine with a nice undercut on Evil Twin, but look at that recovery by Evil Twin. It manages to stay balanced the whole time. Knocks Petey out of harm's way, and now Spider Machine's getting under that sedan. Here comes Cookie in the Morgan Super 3. Cookie flies off over to the right, bounces off the sedan, and the sedan goes over. A loss for the AquaTurks.
And that is a happy little baby. Lives right there.
Ratified takes a shot at the Morgan Super 3, and it sticks. The Morgan Super 3 twists and turns. Looks like it's going to recover, but the track gets in the way. It is out. And now Spider Machine in trouble. Shoebox clears the track. Spider Machine recovers, and so does Ratified. That was a nice hit, but it doesn't take these vehicles down. They have plenty of space to make a landing. Nice recoveries. Hammered Coupe tries to take Shoebox out, but look at Shoebox handling it, flipping over, never a doubt. Lands on top of Morgan Super 3, certainly no recovery chance there, and Hammered Coupe backs down. Grease Gremlin slides just about halfway off the track, off of that dangerous back of Hammered Coupe, poised for the next hit. Here comes Rat Rig with Bob Ross, and it's a nice, gentle approach. Bob's style of jousting similar to his style of painting, apparently. No eliminations on that hit.
Just gonna glide right in here. I think he needs a friend.
The Bob Ross style of jousting may be gentle up front, but it is devastating in the back. Rat Rig's ramp takes another victim. Skull Crusher is toast. Big leap for the sedan delivery and lands on top of Skull Crusher, doesn't help it, and makes a recovery. Not a whole lot of space down there, but somehow that delivery finds it. Cy Furious proves adept at just surviving by landing on other vehicles, flips over, makes a nice recovery, does not get caught up too badly. Could be a good teammate for Hammered Coupe. Draftnator does it again. Bounces off the crates, ricochets onto Spider Machine, and drives over to the tires, where it makes a beautiful recovery. That thing is looking good. Tragedy for the AquaTurks. Another friendly fire. The Volvo launching cannot survive that ramp. Cannot find enough space to do it. And that's another loss for the Turks. That was the final run of round 2. Thoughts on that round, Bob?
Look at that. My team lost 3 cars, but I am A-okay.
6 eliminations in the round. We're taking a measurement on the Thunderbird. It is in barely 44 degrees. And you can see the AquaTurks devastated themselves in that round. They are down to just 1, the Rat Rig. They See Me Rolling fall from 3 to 2. Ketchup and Mustard and Legionary both fall from 4 to 3. Violet Velocity, the only team to stay steady and not lose a car in that round. Mr. Bean and Troy have recovered from their hit in the previous episode. I think Cookie's gonna need a new mask after that hit she took. I'm really enjoying getting to watch the joust in person in my commentator tower. Hopefully we get to have some more special guests this season. I believe starting off for Legionary in round 3. All 5 teams still in this. When we're down to 3 teams, the match is over. Violet Velocity sends down the Thunderbird. Look at that takedown. I believe thrown over, gets hung up on Evil Weevil, who is a foil many times, we've noticed. Beautiful takedown and a loss for Legionary. Grease Gremlin slams for Thunderbird, but it handles that hit no problem and backs down the track. Evil Twin tries to take down, but the Grease Gremlin handles it. Does go curbside though and could be poised for trouble. But there won't be any trouble. It's Bob and Rat Rig gliding into position very inoffensively. But now that ramp is in position.
Boy, we get a lot of calls about that ramp. People love that ramp a lot.
Cy Furious ramps first, and there's no other vehicles to land on, and that seems to be the bane of Cy Furious. It goes upside down and stays there. The sedan delivery also struggles here, flips over in the safety area, gets stuck there, cannot find a way back over, and Rat Rig is taking its toll. Spider Machine tries the undercut. It doesn't work. A huge mistake for Ketchup and Mustard. Spider Machine pivots. It looks like it might survive, but it doesn't. Throws PD off and flips over to its own demise. It could not get underneath that ramp. Yet another casualty of the ramp. That is 4 in a row.
Mega Streak.
Aquaturks have no other vehicles in play, but they're controlling this match. Wow. Even Hammered Coupe cannot get underneath that ramp, but Hammered Coupe does manage to survive, and that's good news for Legionary. Once again, Hammered Coupe, the only surviving car right now for that team. Shoebox with a successful landing, and finally some cars are surviving that disastrous ramp. Shoebox has a close call, but flips it over. Nice recovery. A solid recovery for Draftnator. This thing loves a ramp. You can see in the way it just hurls itself out in the air and always comes up back on its wheels. That's already the end of round 3. 5 losses in that round. That means we are down to 7 cars, but all 5 teams are still in this. Here's the aftermath. Aquaturk still at 1. They See Me Rolling fall to 1. And so does Legionary. They lost 2. Ketchup and Mustard lost Spider Machine. They're down to 2. And Violet Velocity lost the Sedan. They are down to 2. It is very close going into round 4. Violet Velocity start us off with the Pro Stock Thunderbird. Over in the Junkyard Joust Discord, not a whole lot of bets for Violet Velocity, but right now they're doing okay. Priest Gremlin slams into the Thunderbird, just about helps escape the track, but it's not out of danger. Evil Twin shakes things up, Thunderbird escapes, and now we got 2 lined up, and some damage there actually. Hammered Coupe with the devastating takedown. Evil Twin and They See Me Rolling are out of the match. Hammered Coupe has done it again. Rat Rig floats into position as usual. Bob just gliding it in, nice and easy.
Just gonna give him a little bitty tap on the tutu.
Shoebox with a perfect launch right over Greased Gremlin, bounces back and looks like it's probably done, but somehow manages to pull off a recovery next to the crates. That thing has been excelling. Speaking of excelling, it's Draftnator yet again with a beautiful launch, a beautiful landing. It is great to see Draftnator back on the field, hits a 6 before slamming into the crates and making it look like this is never a problem. We just had the 1 elimination in that round from Hammered Coupe taking down Evil Twin. They See Me Rolling are out. The struggle is real for that franchise. Everybody else is steady. We are heading into round 5. 1 more team gets eliminated, it's over. Priest Gremlin will hit the track first for Ketchup and Mustard, who are looking pretty solid right now. Ford Thunderbird doesn't do anything to change that. Slams Gremlin, it goes curbside. Hammered Coupe tries to mix things up, but doesn't get under the Thunderbird, although it's starting to. It's going to need to do something here to keep Legionary alive. Bob and Rat Rig settle in.
Just a little nudge there, a little tippy tap.
And that's what Draftnator was waiting for. Another incredible recovery. This has just been bliss watching Draftnator recover again and again every time it hits that ramp. Ooh, a bad landing for Shoebox. I don't know exactly what happened there. It looks like it got kind of caught up on the safety rail, ended up sideways. Evil Weevil may have played a role, but that is going to be a loss for Velocity, and it was the final car of the round. Had there been another car coming down, I bet it would have recovered, but it's not going to get that chance. And that's bad news for Violet Velocity. They will fall to just 1, even with Legionary, the Aquaturks. Ketchup and Mustard now out in the lead, and they'll start off with the Greased Gremlin yet again. Ketchup and Mustard's pit crew putting on those new tires seems to be helping that car with stability. As it survives yet another assault by the Ford Thunderbird, and here comes Hammered Coupe. Hammered Coupe can't quite get under the Thunderbird yet again. The Thunderbird has proved adept at handling this attempt. And it continues to handle it as Bob glides into position, glides on top of Hammered Coop this time, potentially showing some instability for Rat Rig there, but the ramp is still set up.
Ooh, gotta beat the devil out of him sometimes.
And that's great news for Draftnator, who does it yet again, slamming into the crates, bouncing back, doing a fantastic job showing you what the joust is all about. And because there were no eliminations in that round, all the vehicles coming down will increase their speeds. We'll try to get that elimination and see who's going to move on to the main event. Grease Gremlin is in position. An increased speed Rat Rig is still very slow, but it sure does work well for setting up that ramp. Good thing Bob is driving.
Looks like I've got some phthalo blue on my brush there, and there we go. Very nice.
Thunderbird Pro Stock, wow, doesn't take the ramp, gets kind of caught up on it and just parks there. That isn't necessarily going to be good though, because the next hit is going to send it flying. Next hit is Hammered Coop. It's a takedown. The Thunderbird goes over, gets caught up on the engine of Rat Rig, actually on top of Bob as well. Looks like Bob is okay. I think his hair serves as a pretty good cushion. And the Thunderbird is out. Hammered Coop has parked on top of Rat Rig. Draftnator coming down now. Draftnator can't take the ramp and instead takes Hammered Coop out. What a hit. Hammered Coop thrown into the cab of Rat Rig, thrown up in the air. It flips over upside down and is also eliminated. That means Legionary and Violet are both out of the match right now. It is the end, but we are going to have to go to points to see which of these two teams is going to make it to the main event. Ketchup and Mustard was steady at 2. The Aquaturks hung on. They were inconsistent, but Rat Rig saved them. Now the question is Legionary or Violet Velocity? Which one had more cars left alive longer? Taking a look at the points, it was Violet Velocity, 34 points. They actually got more than Aquaturks. And Hammered Coop was not enough to get Legionary back to the main event. They will be done. We will say goodbye to them, and they see me rolling. Here's the 6 qualified teams so far.
Got my team, the Aquaturks, and I think I did a good job today.
Aquaturks, Ketchup, and Mustard, and Violet Velocity, who hung on, will all be going to the main event. And I have a feeling we're going to see more of Bob Ross very soon. I'd like to get some more celebrity guests into the Junkyard. If you can become a patron now and support the show, help me get some more fun guests to appear in future episodes. And thanks to all my current patrons for making this show possible. Next Sunday, the main event for Apocalypse starts up. Don't miss it. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time on The Joust.
Boy, we made a lot of masterpieces today, didn't we? A lot of happy little impacts, and I just want to thank you for letting the Junkyard Joust into your life. I think Baby Cookie might have been a happy little accident, but I don't know.